What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 304 of Opinions May Vary. I am your host, JR. I have my co-host with me, Alex.
Hello.
Hey, man, how you doing?
I'm okay.
A little under the weather?
A little bit.
You got that deep, rich timber going on.
Yeah.
It happens every year, and we always call it that.
It costs a price, though.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Anyways, joining us this week over the internet, the Skype machines, is Jason Schachter from Essential Sequential. I almost had it the first time, but I did not, alas. Jason, thank you so much for coming on.
Hey, thanks guys for having me.
Now, we had the opportunity, and when I say we, I mean Alex, because I am painfully socially awkward in person. Alex had the opportunity to really talk with you a little bit at New York Comic Con this past year. I'm going to let you take it away because you were there, Alex.
It was actually it was super brief.
No, it was extended.
It was literally
Fit
like
my narrative.
3 sentences. Because I was asking about a piece from Mirko Colin? Colin. And while I was there, because I needed to find the guy in charge. And they're like, well, here's Jason. And then once we got through some business, and I go, hey, man, like, I do this podcast. Would you want to join sometime? Or would you like to, come on and talk at some point? And Jason's response was, who, me? Why?
Why would anyone want to talk to me? I get that a lot.
Because you hang around some of the coolest people in the industry. You handle some of the most gorgeous, amazing art. And, like, the amount of knowledge and, that you have and possess and the stuff that passes through your hands and, like, the amount of wrangling of both artists and, convention goers or online purchasers or whatever, must be amazing. And anyone who listens to some of our PAX episodes, we also like talking to the people who pull the strings, who are behind the scenes making the show happen. And
we've always been big proponents of how stuff works.
You call me the puppet master.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. And so I was like, heck yeah, Jason, I want to talk to you on our podcast, if you wouldn't mind. So here we are.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was definitely surprised when everyone wants to talk to me about anything. So, again, speaking of socially awkward, I think a lot of us fall into that category. I mean, I work from home by myself, so I basically just talk to my dog most of the day. So,
Same.
yeah.
So
Let's touch on because we mentioned Essential Sequential. Now to the average, casual. No, I don't want to try and I don't refer to anyone as casuals because we're all fans here.
Yeah.
To the average person who may not know essentially what Essential Sequential, I didn't even mean to say essentially, what Essential Sequential is. Jason, what is it exactly? What do you do?
You know what? When people that I get introduced to, they ask, what do you do? The best thing to say, I guess, is I'm an agent, but also we sell art and collectibles. So I act as an agent. I'm an acting agent for these guys. I guess also do merchandising because we create sketchbooks, prints. We did some, Lion Cat dolls for Saga.
Yeah.
So we did, we do a bunch of different things. Basically, on my resume, I'd probably say agent, but it's a jack of all trades. We try to add revenue to the guys that we work with so that they can just draw. So merchandising, I guess, actually would fit that bill as well. But jack of all trades, I guess. I don't know, because I also have to do, website stuff. We do merchandising, we do production, we do art books, all that good stuff.
So is agent a better term than rep, like an art representative?
Yeah, art agent / representative, okay. I guess would be acceptable or good. I often don't like talking about myself, so I forgot to mention. So
fair.
If you hear me starting to stumble, it's like, when someone compliments me, I definitely disregard it as them being weird.
Yep.
Well. Yeah.
So. Yeah, that type of stuff. But yeah, we do a bunch of everything. I try to make life easier for the guys that we work with, and then just try to find new ways of adding revenue to their bottom line. It sounds very corporate and very cold, I guess, considering art is such a passionate and creative thing. but everybody has to put food on the table somehow, and this is how we do it. So they do the creative stuff, and we just come up with ways that they can capitalize on it.
So anyone who's been to some of the bigger conventions, I know we know you specifically more from like Boston Comic Con, New York Comic Con. If you happen to see the row of purple banners along, like, let's say 4 to 5 to 6, maybe 10, 8 tables or whatever, and they'll all say Essential Sequential along with the artist names on them, because essentially that's providing, all these guys fall under the Essential Sequential banner, and they all, they get to do their job, and I'll see either you or I think there's another. Is he an assistant or? If it's not you, I see another guy there.
Guys. Yeah, my buddy Zach usually helps out with the Essential Sequential under the purple banners.
Yeah.
We also have a partnership with Comic Sketch Art, who have the red banners. So you'll notice, I started doing this branding, which I'm not sure many other people were doing at the time, because I started this in 2009.
Okay.
And the idea is that when you walk into Artist Alley, you'll see this row of purple that will stand out from everything else in the area, and you'll know that that's where we are, and that's why we chose those colors, and that's why we do what we do. Is that when you go down there, you'll see, okay, there's Canete, and there's Tim Sale, and there's Dave Johnson. That's where you can find those guys.
You already answered one of my questions.
Okay.
What made you decide to start being an agent and working with these artists?
I just fell into it. I used to be in production, jewelry manufacturing, actually, for about 10 years out of college. And I'd always loved comic books, always loved comic art. I started collecting I think I bought my first piece in 90 or 91 at a small Holiday Inn convention here in Jersey.
Yeah.
And I remember, and I still have the piece. It's a Jan Dersima Hawkman head sketch. And I think I bought it for $10, and I was in high school at the time. And I just loved it. I brought it home. I was looking at it. I was like, man, I can actually buy a piece of artwork from these guys. How great is that? And from there, you're in high school, or at least I was in high school. I didn't have much money, so I didn't really have a way to buy more art. And at the time, I remember there's an old Greenberg New York Comic Con, back in the day. And I'd walk through there, and you could buy Todd McFarlane Spider-Man covers for $1,200. But that might as well have been $1 million for me. There's no way I could have, come up with $1,200. So I just loved, going to conventions. I loved, buying art. Eventually, getting through college, it took a backseat to other things. And I started to get back into it in the early 2000s, and going and lining up with the rest of the knuckleheads, trying to get an Adam Hughes sketch and a Tim Sale sketch. And, we'd go out and wait in line. I remember, 2-3 o'clock in the morning at Heroes Con to get in line for Adam and, rush down to be first on his list. And those, the places where I met some of my, best friends in art collecting. And, that's where you learn what you like. And obviously, I think most people have to buy and sell stuff to get other things that they want. And that's what I did. When I was in high school, I would buy a bunch of color guides from one guy and I'd flip them, and I'd make, $50 or $100, and I'd be able to buy another piece of art that I wanted for my collection. And eventually, my first client was Stefan Roux, and we were just buddies, and he needed help at a convention. I was like, yeah, this is fun for me. I'm going to, I'll help you out the weekend. Don't worry about it. And he needed help selling his art and asked me if I'd, help him out. I said, yeah, no problem. I didn't even want to get paid for it, because that's how much I love doing it.
Yeah.
And, that led to Eric coming on board, which led to, word of mouth, this guy coming on board and that guy coming on board. And in 2009, my daytime job, my full-time gig ended when the economy crashed. So I kind of said, all right, well, let's give this a go. I wasn't making a good living at it by any means, but it's something I was happy doing and I love doing. So I worked a bit part-time at Apple. And after about a month or two, I was like, this sucks. not that Apple sucks. It's just going to the mall and working a retail job
Yeah.
sucked. It's not something I was made for.
It's not for everybody.
And just, it's not for everybody. And at the time, it coincided with, I think, New York Comic Con and then Lucca Festival over in Italy. And Eric was just like, hey, just, screw your job. Let's go to Italy. I'm like, all right, let's go. And I just quit. And, I was like, fuck it. It just, you kind of toss caution to the wind. I didn't have health insurance at the time. So the money I made that weekend in New York was way more than, I would have made at Apple in 6 or 8 months. So, I could work a weekend and make 6 months, salary doing what I loved and not having to deal with the bullshit of, retail. All right, let's give this a go and, go full steam, but, go jump in with 2 feet. And if it fails, then I guess we'll have to see what happens. And luckily, I've been exceptionally lucky that I haven't had to go back and, dig ditches or, work at some other job that I'm not happy doing. So it's basically how I got into it. But, I've been a fan since I can remember.
So it started with the artists coming to you after Stefan and Eric?
Yeah. I think Eric was one of the first guys that I approached, and I thought, and I didn't know if he had someone that had worked with him or not. And when I thought one of his buddies did, I was exceptionally apologetic because I didn't want to step on anyone's toes.
Mm-hmm.
But Eric came on board, and he's probably been one of the biggest reasons for my success or for the group's success, is because he is very supportive and very very supportive in everything that I did, and helped get the word out, and had some of his buddies come on board. And when people would ask him what he thought, he said, yeah, you should work with Jay. We have a good time, we work hard, and we have a good time traveling. So he also has a good eye for art. So when he says, you should take a look at this, talk to that guy, you take him at his word that, that's a good artist.
So is it essentially by word of mouth through other artists that?
Yeah. 99%, I think, came from guys asking me if they can come on board or if I had time. And that's very humbling. When I get a phone call or an email saying, hey, are you interested in working together? It depends on what I have going on, but I've been pretty busy the last 2.5, 3 years that I really don't take on new clients unless it comes through one of my guys, one of the guys already.
Uh-huh.
So, hearing those, getting those requests are great. It feels great that, people appreciate what you do and, want to be a part of the collective that we organized.
That's got to be huge, because anyone who's like looking to be an agent or a representative or whatever, part of the grind is like finding clients,
starting out, getting that base,
yeah,
so you can eventually work your way up to like that clientele.
Yeah, so that you're able to do this full time. I mean, I was eating ramen and Taco Bell out of my spare change canister here for about 2 years. So there were some lean times there until, not that I'm a Rockefeller by any means, but, I'm able to be self-sufficient at this point. But that helped a great deal. And being able to organize and get the client list that I have now is just, I feel very, very lucky to be able to work with these guys, and that they trust me to handle their artwork and, certain parts of their career.
To those who, we keep mentioning, the different artists, those guys, in case you might be wondering, the type of, clientele. I'm going to brag for you, Jason. Just briefly scrolling your website, some names that pop out. I mean, pretty much everyone here is insanely talented, but there's people, Tim Sale, I think, is like one of the first people who I recognized as being oh, you want to see Tim Sale? He's at the Essential Sequential booth. Like it was always like hand in hand. Tim Sale, you go to Essential Sequential. There's also
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, growing up and reading comics, Tim was one of my comic heroes.
Oh yeah.
So being able to work with them and hang out with them and become good friends with them, you know, the 13 or 15-year-old me is like, hey man, you get to hang out with Tim Sale and Andy Kubert and Adam Kubert, and you get to go to Frank Miller's studio and have dinner with him and Klaus Janson. My 13-year-old self would be like, oh, you know, go F off, man. There's no way that'll happen, you know? But here it is, and, you know, I'm going through my long box of books a few weeks ago, and I have all of, you know, Jim Lee's and Andy Kubert's X-Men run. And, it, you know, there's definitely a nostalgia there. Like, man, I remember reading these and just loving the story and loving the art and just reading the books over and over again. And, you know, now going over to their studio and having lunch or dinner with them, you know, it's pretty cool. It's definitely, you know, a little nerdgasm.
Yeah, you mentioned Frank Miller, Klaus Janson, the Kuberts, Matteo Scalera, one of who's someone who he's worked his way onto my I need to give him money soon list. Dave,
help you out with that.
Oh, good.
Oh yeah, I'm talking to the guy who would be able to help out with it. Dave Johnson. It's just it's an unbelievable grouping of talent, and it seems to be one of those things that it's ever growing, which is really neat to see.
My first few trips to conventions were mind blowing. If you've never been to one before and realizing who's there, and you know, as you said, having grown up reading Long Halloween or the Marvel, you know, Colors books,
right,
and being like, Tim Sale's a real person? Holy shit, there he is!
yeah, no, it's amazing. I mean, Tim, for instance, or for example, is one of the sweetest people you'll ever meet. Mm-hmm. And traveling around the world with him, we come across really starstruck fans. You know, we were in Paris a few years ago, and a girl came up to me and started crying at the fact that she'll be able to meet Tim in a few hours. And she was weeping. She was literally weeping that she was so happy that she'd able to, you know, to finally meet Tim and, you know, be able to have a connection there. Mm-hmm. So, you know, you see that quite often, and it's pretty cool to see and see the interactions on, you know, some of the fans' faces when they get to, you know, spend a minute or two talking with him. And then obviously, you know, for the people who want sketches and, you know, commissions and stuff who haven't been able to get something, it's, you know, it can be important to them, not just, you know, hey, I need to check that off my list of, you know, some art to get by some guy or, you know, some Batman art. And those are the experiences that kind of stick out and make me appreciate what I get to do for a living. And, you know, making fans happy is always a fun part of the job. It's probably the best part of the job.
That was definitely one of my experiences. Because like everyone has their list of like the thing they need from their favorite character from their favorite person. And
Mm-hmm.
and a few years ago, I believe it was Boston.
It was Boston.
It's like my best would be a Catwoman from Tim Sale. And
Mm-hmm.
and to date, it's like one of my highest priced pieces, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's worth it.
You went in
Yeah.
well aware of the price.
Oh yeah, I knew
There
ahead
was
of
no
time.
price. You know, it was, this is happening. I'm doing this. Damn it.
I'm gonna struggle, like you said. Like I'm gonna get there on time. I got to get in there early. Got to find his table. You know, and at the time, the thing that was kind of popular because I know Tim had done it, and I know Tony Harris was doing a similar thing, where like you'd essentially buy a card with a time on it and be like, your sketch is gonna happen at 1:20 p.m. So you can
Right.
pay for it now,
That's,
and then you come back at this time, and this is when you can watch it get done.
Yeah, that's our friend John Hagashi, a super fan, came up with that idea, kind of like Disneyland, you know, when you do the fast passes.
Your fast
And
pass,
that's where
yeah.
he got it from, and it worked really well. And when Tim started doing it, he had a little sand hourglass, right?
Okay, yeah.
And he would time it that way, and he would do 10-minute or 15-minute sketches that way. and you just come back. And Tim really loves the interaction of the fan watching him draw and the audience of people watching him. It's something that he likes. Whereas, Dave does not like watching people, people draw. So,
oh, really?
Some guys are just different. Tim just loves it. So we just changed that recently this last year because Tim's wanting to take a little bit more time, and it's gotten to be, a little bit more difficult to keep on track for, I think the last time we did like a half-hour sketch. Now he just does a nice, more finished, polished piece for a little bit more money. And it just seems to be, a better way to do things. And then at the first and last hour of the day, we'll try to do quickie head sketches for free for fans. So, it's the way we try to make, again, everybody happy, which is, there's always somebody that's going to complain about something, but...
In the comic book community, are you serious? People complaining?
What?
Yeah, it's shocking, I know.
Is it, do you ever find it tough, obviously being such a fan yourself, you mentioned being a big Tim Sale fan growing up. Is it tough to kind of distance yourself from this? Like, and when you have to be like, this is my job. Like, let's say, you get a call from one of your artists. Hey, I got this new piece I'm looking to sell, and they send it to you, and you say, you know what, actually, this is going to be mine now. I'm going to buy this. Is it tough to distance yourself from that and think about your your living?
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. I mean, I just got an issue from Cully Hamner of the Batman and Signal, issue number 1. And basically every month, every few weeks, I get new issues of stuff and new pieces. And when I first started, I couldn't afford them. So I had to be more selective. Maybe once a year I would buy something or ask one of the guys to do a commission for me. But I try not to cherry pick because it's not fair to my buyers and the guys' buyers. So I'll rarely pick a piece or two during the year. I do try to buy something here and there because, again, I am a fan. But I'm very sensitive to the fact that there's other buyers that are wanting stuff. But it's one of the perks of the job that I get to see the art first, and if there's something I really want, then I'll buy it for myself. But I try not to do it too much. I don't think it's fair in the grand scheme of things. I'm trying to build a business and trying to keep everybody happy, and the best way to do that is to make sure fans get the art that they want, or at least have it out there. But that being said, Tim, we're talking a lot about Tim, but he did the Batman Rebirth cover, and that was originally supposed to be done as a print for a convention season last year, 2 years ago. And I was like, "Fuck this, man! I'm buying this one." Now, I don't care what anyone says, but so that could be a little bit tenuous because we get to a convention and someone say, "Oh, did you have that Batman #1 cover?" I'm like, "No," and the collector in me can't be like, "Yeah, I have it," and I have to brag about it, to my buddies, like, "Yeah, I got that piece. It's hanging on my wall," because I'm proud that like you are when you get a piece that you like.
You absolutely have to show it off. Right. So I don't do it too often, but it does happen.
Someone already bought it.
Yeah, I was like, and if you want for the right price,
I might be able to talk to him.
Yeah. It gets to be tough because my personal collection is my personal collection, and I don't tend to sell them unless it's someone offers me crazy money or something. But I generally don't like to sell the art I buy for myself. So, it's weird. I'm a weird guy when it comes to that stuff. Guys will say, I'll sell whatever I have on consignment from my clients because that's my job.
Right.
But it gets to be a little more difficult, when people say, I think I have a James Jean cover that tends to get brought up a lot, or, some of these other ones that I've been holding on to. And I'm just like, no, it's hanging on my wall. I'll never be able to get another James Jean piece or another Adam Hughes piece of that same type of thing. So, thanks, but, no thanks. It never hurts to ask. But
Do you have a theme in your personal collection, or is it just whatever's amazing?
My main theme is Harley and Ivy.
Okay.
So you'll see, let's see, for the long, and still, Bruce Timm is probably my all-time favorite.
Yeah.
I had the biggest hard-on for his stuff, and I still do, actually. But, we were talking about back in the day. Back in the day, you can get a color piece for $250, and now they're 2,000.
Oh, yeah.
And you can get pages, from different Batman books for $100 or $200. And now, pages and Mad Love can be $5,000 to $10,000.
Yeah.
So, I was able to get my grail of having him do a Harley Ivy for me, a few years ago, and that quenched my desire, my longing, I guess.
Uh-huh.
But back in the day, anything that popped up on eBay that was Bruce Timm, I'd buy up. Whether it's a small little head sketch, or, page, I just try to get as much as I could.
Huh.
And then I had bills to pay, and slowly, sold a piece here or there, unfortunately, to make some, pay some bills. But yeah, that was my all-time favorite. Of course, Jim Lee, Todd McFarlane, but that stuff was always out of reach, I think, for me. Even though I did have a Todd McFarlane Spider-Man page at one point, which I had to unfortunately sell because my car broke down. Everyone, most people I know have at least that one regret of selling, a page. That happens to be mine. The Spider-Man issue 10, page 9 is a Wolverine coming out of the shadows. It's a beautiful page. And boy, do I regret ever. So.
For all the conventions that you guys do, how is it like keeping track of those? Does it get difficult? Like, is your calendar just a mess, or
yeah?
In pre-show,
yes, end of question.
In pre-show, you had mentioned places that there are shows that you were invited to. Is that like the show's decision, where like if you're invited, you don't have to pay the same table fees as everyone else? Is that usually give you a more inclination, or do you still have to pay the certain fees? Or
well, we've been spoiled. I'll start with that.
Okay.
Because conventions will pay for us to come out.
Right.
The only shows will pay for booth space are like San Diego.
Okay.
And that's because everyone does.
Yeah.
But otherwise,
whatever.
Every
What is San Diego like? They're not that important.
Yeah, and it's San Diego, so we pay our booth space and we go about our business. But every other show that we're guests at, they usually fly us in and will give us table space or booth space to accommodate the guys that come in. So we've been very lucky in that regard, and spoiled to an extent that they'll take care of that for us.
Because it's an opportunity to get the biggest names in.
Yeah, if you want Tim Sale to come out, or Klaus Janson, or whoever, most of these guys now have an appearance fee that they have to take care of. But outside of that, flights and hotels are taken care of. Prominent locations in Artist Alley are taken care of. Now that gets to be a little bit more difficult. For instance, in New York, we had something like 35 creators attending the show, so it's kind of tough to place those guys. Plus, when you're working with Tim or Scott Snyder or Greg Capullo, there's going to be long lines for those guys. So we have to accommodate for the people to to walk through the line. So that's more of an organizational thing. Excuse me, that the organizers have to put up with. But from my perspective, it's a bit tough because you have to wrangle these guys to commit to doing something that's 6 months or 8 months or a year ahead, and they tend not to want to do that. So it can be kind of harrowing to get everyone on board and done in a timely fashion. So convention owners, my apologies if you're listening for our tardiness and confirming stuff. It gets to be kind of tough, for the guys because they're artists. That's what they do. They sit and they draw and they don't think about these things.
They lose track of time often.
Yeah, so I have to bug them, and then I don't want to bug them too much, and then all of a sudden sudden next weekend is the show and books, flights haven't been purchased or some stuff. So it's not the most fun. It's not the most glamorous part of the job, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
So it's not tough. It's just, it takes a little time and some work to nail everybody down.
New York Comic Con this year was the first time I've met Cary Nord in person.
Oh yeah, he's a great guy.
And I've been a huge fan of Conan for years and years and years. And when he started at Dark Horse Books, I was like, this is amazing. It's like the perfect art for this new like revitalization of what Conan is. And then I loved his stuff on the Ultimate Human when he was doing Ultimate Hulk and Iron Man, and like just because it was great humor written into that book. It's not like a humor book, but like it worked out really well. But unfortunately,
he's a super talented artist.
Oh yeah,
and he's Canadian, so he's got to be nice. It's part of it's just genetic up there.
Part of the deal.
I don't know. But yeah, all those guys are crazy nice. Ramon Perez is also, from Toronto. Well, they have the same type of of attitude, of personality. Very easygoing, laid back, very very nice and personable, and very engaging. They're a lot of fun to be around. That's probably the next best thing about my job is I get to hang out with these guys, all weekend long and watch them create art. And then we go out to dinner and hang out, hopefully have a beer or something. So it gets to be a very fun thing to travel with these guys.
Which that's what makes their job easy, in case anyone who hasn't caught on yet while we're talking. So let's say I go to a convention and I might not negotiate with the artist himself, or I might negotiate with Jason or your buddy there. And let's say I'll get, because I do have a Matteo Scalera piece, and I have a Weather Wizard headshot. It looks like he's about to roast the flesh. It's great.
Yeah.
And this way the artist gets to work in like the exchange is happening with Jason or with the assistant, like they're handling the money. And then even once the piece is done, like they're going to scan it too. So now the artist still has a copy of it, which is, I recall that usually happens, right?
Yeah. We scan everything and we'll put them into sketchbooks. So actually Matteo's got a new one that we're working on for 2018. Tim's, we're starting this week or next week. Yes, everything that the guys create can be, I don't want to say recycled, but reused in another form. So if there's a real nice piece, actually several different times over the last few years, Matteo and Rick were so happy with the way a commission came out that Matteo did that we sent that scan and they used it as a cover. So that fan walked away with a $500 or $400 published cover from the convention.
That's crazy.
So it's one of those things that we like to have for the archives for the guys, but sometimes we'll make prints from them. Generally we'll use them for sketchbooks if they're something the guys like enough.
And like that's so much they don't have to keep track of now too. They could just do their job and draw.
They just walk in, they sit down, they'll sign for fans, draw, do whatever they do,
shake hands with their friends, and
sometimes they'll go get drunk and but they're able to do that if they want, and we take care of everything else to make sure everything else is handled, and at the end of the day or at the end of the weekend, they get paid and they go home. So there's a lot of stuff that we do that maybe the fans don't see or don't care about, which is fine. But when we were talking about this earlier, when certain entitled fans will kind of be vocal on certain groups on Facebook, why is this guy, why are dealers or reps, taking a percentage or, taking a cut or gouging their fans? They don't see the hours of work that we put into it going into a convention or during the convention. We'll work way past show hours, getting everything ready for the guys and for the next day. So we're not done until maybe 11 or 12 at night. During New York Comic Con, I wouldn't get to bed until 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning and then be up early to get ready for the next day. So, I mean, they're long hours, and don't get me wrong, it's a lot of fun. It's not as black and white as some people think. We just show up, take their money, and give the guys their crumbs, and we take the majority of the money.
You're definitely not there to goof off. Like, between the two of you, I keep, what's the guy's name? I keep just saying the other guy. I'm sorry.
There's a few guys. Zach, in New York, Zach wasn't there. Chris was there. My buddy Chris Stafford, another
usually
collector.
A tall guy. Anyway.
Yeah, that was Chris.
Okay.
I think Chris.
But the tall guy.
But like, you guys can look at a portfolio book. It's closed, and you'll go, "Oh, well, like that's so and so's interior pages from Inhumans." And it's like, it looks the same as the other 20 portfolio books you guys have. Like, how do you just recognize that, like, with a glance? And it's like, it's because they know their product so well.
Well, that one, I print on the spine what's in there. So maybe you didn't see that we were looking at the spine and cheating.
It's like magic tricks. Now that we know the secret.
But even then, like, the spine wasn't facing you guys. Like,
it's like, what was it? Going back to if people get mad if a rep or an agent like takes a cut, what was it? I mean, at the end of the day, it's your job. You got to get paid. And also, like, what was it? How did Heath Ledger put it in Dark Knight? If you're good at something, never do it for free.
Yeah.
Like, gotta get paid. Oh no, I'm sacrificing my entire weekend and my nights leading up to this and all the time planning so I can have fun, and not get paid.
Yeah. Well, it's. I guess it all comes down to to perspective and what you see or what you don't know, and educating yourself, I guess, on it is well, it's up to you if you like to be educated or not, but it's up to those guys. They think that we're just ruining the convention experience, and quote unquote, I've heard that before. I just used that wrong. I've heard that a quote being said about me in particular, that I'm ruining the convention experience, that because we're charging more money now for art or autographs or sketches or whatnot, that the conventions aren't as much fun. And I was like, all right. I mean, it sounds pretty important that I have the power just to ruin, conventions for everybody.
It's all your fault.
Just by wanting to do it. Like, I'm going to ruin your convention experience. Sorry, buddy. It's just how it's going to be. So that type of stuff sucks, because I specifically want everyone to have a good time, and enjoy themselves and come back and buy more stuff. So it's counterintuitive to try to piss people off. It's not a good business sense. In addition, I'm a pretty nice guy. Like, I'm pretty easygoing. I just want to go and do my job, have fun. And I enjoy interacting with buyers and fans. And a lot of those guys now have become good buddies that have been customers. Because we still like the same stuff. And we talk about art and we talk about other stuff. And, we see them at show after show and wind up going to dinner and hanging out. So that's a perk of it as well. But, the guys that just kind of want to beat on us for doing our job and taking a commission on what we do it's kind of shitty. I think that's one of the reasons why, I make comments on some of those groups, but like, hey man, this is how I look at it. If you think I'm an asshole, that could be a fair assessment. However, what did you do to make me be an asshole to you? I don't come out of the gate just like, well, fuck you, man. Go fuck yourself. That's not my way. If you're going to be a dick to me, same with everybody. I think, if someone's going to approach you and punch in the neck, you're going to have a negative reaction to it. And that's, I don't know. I go into these weekends looking to have a good time with my buddies, make fans happy, see some good art created. Obviously, it's a business, so we want to make some money. But, we go into it looking to have a good time and meeting, fun and passionate fans.
I was going to bring it up, but you beat me to it, essentially, where I might be in one of these groups and someone's talking about artists and, you know, a certain artist will have mentioned, and then someone will reply and they go, oh, well, they went purple. And then it's like there's a oh with a frowny face afterwards because it's implied that the prices are going to go up. But, you know, you're doing this to make it easier for the fans and also to make it easier for the artists. And if the artist deserves, you know, a few more bucks than they were asking for before, then, you know, they're deserving of that. And even if, you know, like I said last week when we were talking with Charlie, it's not doing damage to anyone if they don't get to own this stuff. Half the fun of me going to one of these shows and walking past the purple is getting to look at this arrangement of incredible artists anyway.
Even if you can't buy something from them, you can still say hello.
Yeah.
You can still say, hey, I really dig your work. What you do is amazing. It changed my life. You know, whatever.
Holy shit, it's Cary Nord.
Yeah, exactly. Even if you can't afford to throw down a couple $100 on an original, depending on pricing, whatever, there's still sketchbooks. There's still prints. You can even just say, hi, I really appreciate you. Get an autograph maybe. You know, it's just, you don't have to throw down hundreds of dollars. No one's forcing you to do that.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's, you know, it happened with David Finch when he came on board with me in comic sketch art, and we told everyone that we were increasing the prices because, quite honestly, Dave was underselling himself, and people lost their minds. You know, how is it that, you know, there's a 300% markup? I was like, well, because he was grossly undercharging people for his artwork, and you know, it's like I said before, we try to make everybody as happy as we can. But the guys that aren't going to spend $500 on a sketch aren't going to spend $750 or vice versa. It's just, that's not in their budget, and that's fine. And like you said, we have we're working on a sketchbook for Dave now, and we have prints and other stuff. But those fans want something original, and they want, you know, a cover, and they want it for, you know, $20. And it's just not, you know, it's not reasonable. So the way that we know that we're still in the ballpark is, you know, we still sold out of all the spots for those shows. We still have more people that want to spend that money that don't.
Yeah.
And, you know, the important thing is that Dave and all the other guys are very aware of their fans, and they want to make sure that they're happy and they feel that they're getting their money's worth. And, you know, they're super appreciative of fans buying their work, not just their original art, but their comics and all that stuff. But also, you have to realize that, you know, these guys take a lot of time out of their week to come to a convention. To, you know, Dave in particular, he'd be up till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning drawing commissions for fans and worrying if they're going to like them and making sure that, you know, he's doing work on them because he wants them to make them happy. So, you know, I see these guys putting in a lot of time and energy into them just to hear some of these, you know, fans who will shit on them because they want, you know, a decent price, and they'll say, you know, why should we pay $750 or $500 or that, whatever it is. But those same sketches will be flipped on eBay for twice the amount, or 3 times the amount, or, you know, whatever, you know. So though it's a balancing act, I guess. You know, the best I want to say it's a way to think of it as a commodity, but it sounds very cold because it's not a stock to be traded and bought and sold, but it is. You know, you can go on eBay and you can buy a piece of art, you know, from any of these guys, and you can see what they go for. And you can trade them for X, Y, or Z.
Well, so years ago, Adam Hughes declared he was going to stop doing con sketches because he was pestered for an entire show.
Was it Boston?
And the guy just flipped it. It's like, oh, it's for my kid. I really need it done, you know, and, you know, just hounded him about it. And then
got a beautiful Wonder Woman,
the amazing Wonder Woman. And the next day it wasn't on eBay. And so Hughes and his rep was like, we're done.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. They screwed it up for the rest of us who love getting, you know, something from Adam.
Yeah.
So, you know, these guys don't need to sit and draw for you or for anybody. And it's something they do because they want to get paid for it. It's something they do because they love to do it, you know, but if it's going to become, an issue for some of these guys, then maybe they just stop drawing and just like, all right, well, you can buy a print or you can buy my published work.
Yep.
And that's all that's available. And, you take it or leave it. But, their time is worth money, and they take time away from their homes, from their families, from their deadlines to sit at a table and draw or sketch or autograph. And, people don't realize they don't have health insurance through through their companies or a 401k or, whatever it is, the benefits and perks that come with maybe a corporate job or a 9-to-5 job. The stuff that they have to do on their own.
And traveling isn't always that glamorous either.
No, being stuck next to, oversized people, on an 8-hour flight isn't always the best situation. But, I think more so it's spending time away from the studio. They could be working on a cover page and getting paid whatever their cover rate is, or just being home relaxing, hanging out with their dog or family. That stuff is priceless.
Well, even I've seen artists who couldn't take any commissions like on one day of a convention because they're finishing their published work. It's like, I have to finish my issue for Marvel. I'm sorry I can't sketch tonight. Like, I can only do 4 today instead of my usual 10.
Yeah. That happened with Cary last year. He was behind, finishing some stuff. So he came down and signed autographs for a bit and then went back up and drew at the table. And, people could watch him draw. Here you get to see someone making a comic book right in front of your eyes. A real live, pro drawing a comic book.
That's going to be in print in a month or two.
It's going to be in print. Yeah. It's the negative experiences that we've encountered have just been a minority of the overall, experience that we've gone through. So it's just those 1 or 2 times tend to be so viscerally negative that you remember them and you hope that they don't happen again. So they stick out. But generally speaking, fans are amazing. When we travel, the conventions are great. I think this New York is the first time in a long while we didn't really have any people complaining about one thing or another. There's usually one guy who complains about autograph fees. It's the same guy who has a long box of books that he wants signed, and we have to say, we can't do that because you'll break his hand. It's just,
years ago, I volunteered at Wizard World. This was like back in 2003, Wizard World, Philadelphia. Yeah. And one of my jobs was to be line cutoff for some of the signings here or there. And some artists would enforce limits. They're like, I'm only going to sign 5 books. And we'd still have, some douchebag comes in with a cart of long boxes. He bought 4 tickets and say, I get 5 books per ticket. Sign my 20 books. And it's like, dude, you don't do this. Just be a person.
At least, I mean, I can kind of understand that. He bought the tickets.
But that's why he bought them, was to just cheat the system.
Yeah, but at least he paid for something. He realized that, he's just not going to get stuff for free. I mean, one of the worst experiences we had with somebody was in New York 2 years ago. And he came up and said, hey, I'm a veteran, do stuff for vets. Mm-hmm. I said, yeah, first off, thank you for your service. We can give you some prints for free. And, that's how we show our gratitude. Uh-huh. He said, well, this other guy gave me all his signatures for free. I'm like, well, yeah, man, that's great. But here's what we do. Here's a bunch of prints. It's probably about $100 worth of prints.
It's not like you guys have like $20 prints. Like usually your prints are $40 or something.
Well, no, the majority of them are $20.
Yeah.
But we do have $100 ones. We do have remarked ones that are $300, $500. But he said, how dare you? I'm a vet. You're treating me like
Are you
shit.
Serious?
Yeah, and I felt really bad because I was like, listen, man, I'm sorry. This is what we do. And he had a long box of books. And, he came back and he was waiting in line still. And, he went up. It was one of the bigger names. And I went to go do something else, and I turned around, and he was in front of that artist, and the artist was about to sign for him, and I, had to interject and say, I'm sorry, but we already spoke about this. If you'd like, signatures are X amount of money, but since you're a vet, here's, I have a set of prints for you. And he started yelling and screaming. He's like, no, this is not right. I serve my country. And I'm like, of course you start feeling bad. It's a vet, right?
Right, yeah.
And, he walked away in a huff. And the thing of it is that we traveled around the country, and I've had vets come up to the table countless times. And every time I would give them a print or something. And every time I would say, thank you for your service, they would always say, you're welcome. It's an honor. No problem. So I don't know if this guy maybe he wasn't a vet and just trying to get stuff for free, or maybe he was, had some mental, some issues. Either way, it was an unfortunate thing, but, he felt very much entitled. I think the basis of what I'm trying to say is that he felt very entitled, and that those types of guys have that entitlement. They think they're entitled to certain things. That's why it makes it so unpleasant to deal with them.
Unfortunately, I occasionally don't assume the best of someone when they wheel in their cart of long boxes or short boxes even. If they come in with a wheelbarrow of comics, like, I'm already kind of on edge about what kind of person this is.
Yeah, I've noticed that, there's a few other people that we've seen in a few shows that come up with those same long boxes, and every time I say, it's $5 for this guy or whatever, and they'll try to haggle, and we try to do the best we can. And most people, 99% of people, are very rational and understanding of what we do and what the artist does.
Right.
And they'll try to make the best of it. The more rational people, I guess, will say, okay, well, here's $5. Here's the 10 books that I want.
Right.
And put aside the 300 others that they brought. That's generally how it goes. But there's, the 1 in 100 or whatever that will just lose their minds and start yelling and screaming. And when I first started doing this, I wasn't used to it. And, who wants to be yelled at? I don't want to be yelled at. And just kind of like, okay, do what you got to do. But after a time, it's just like, okay, now I kind of look forward to those interactions where I can actually be a little more assertive and just like, listen, we don't need to sign your books. If you'd like them signed, here's what we do. And if not, go on your way and enjoy the day. But, we're not going to take being yelled at or screamed at or, cursed at in any particular way. It's just not right. And it's not what we came here for,
Yeah.
And most people are on board with that. But, that seems to be, I think, as the industry is moving towards autograph fees and those types of things, it's become more ingrained in the convention experience. And, the people are now more accustomed to it as they were as a year or two ago. But it still happens. People get impatient and they're waiting online for hours and they pay $100 in the door. And, so when you're the cutoff guy and that last guy comes up and he can't get something, I kind of understand his frustration. And, working with Frank Miller, for instance, he gets long lines and we've had to cut people off because we've got to get to a panel or he's got to eat, or, any of those types of things. Or, Tim, for instance, he'll sit there for 8 hours and not go to the bathroom because he's signing or drawing or doing stuff.
Right.
And he's very, fans are very important to him, as they are, for everybody. But when he has to get up and go somewhere and that last guy comes up, he doesn't know he's been sitting there for 8 hours drawing his heart away and gets upset that he won't be taken care of immediately. So,
sorry, go ahead.
Well, it's just so it becomes, so we have to explain to them, hey, Tim's got to take a leak. Go to, Tim hasn't eaten in 8 hours. So I found, I started bringing blow pops to conventions now and candies, and started handing them out to guys who start getting that look on their face that they're going to explode. I'm like, hey man, here's a lollipop. You know, it looks like you eat some sugar, and they'll lighten up. You'll see like their face just, how
could you be mad at a lollipop?
Yeah. Like, okay, great. You know, this makes my day a little bit better of waiting in line and doing all this stuff. And it's literally nothing, but it seems to made those few interactions that could have gone south actually be a little bit, a little bit better.
I've been that guy at New York. Actually, that was me, to an extent, because I had asked Mirko for a piece, and it was kind of a funny exchange, because like I looked at his stuff and I could, I had to figure out what style he did, and then I had to choose a character that would fit his style, because that's kind of an important thing you have to do. And I was like, what do you feel about either Green Arrow or Omega Red? And he's like, I could do either of them. And like, he's looking him up on his phone. I was like, wait, you have to check? He's like, he's so confident in his work. He's like, oh yeah, I could do either of these. And I narrowed it down. And then I was like, should I pay you now or whatever? And he's like, no, just come back for it. And when I finally made it back, it was like toward the last hour of the show, he was already gone. And I was like, oh no. Oh no. And so eventually I got to talk to you, and I was, I was super angry, and I was yelling, and I was like, how dare this man leave before? No, actually, I was really chill about it, and I felt kind of bad.
I was going to say, I don't remember you doing
that.
No,
actually felt really bad, because I've heard of incidents in the past where it's like, if an artist is going to spend his time making art for you, and then you just bail and don't pay them, like, that's wasted time for them, And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
And so I was like, oh my God, I need to pay this man. Like, I feel bad. Like, I owe this guy money if he did this work all day for me, and now he's not going to get paid for it. Like, I I won't be here tomorrow, but here's my email. Like, I email you back. Like, in me, the man deserved to get paid. And I felt pretty guilty that I couldn't just make it back. I couldn't arrange my time properly to come back and find him.
Yeah. It happened a few different times where people didn't show up, and it actually happened to Tim when we were in Paris on a pretty expensive piece. And that's why I take money up front,
right,
for mostly everybody.
Yeah.
Because people will spend their money elsewhere and forget, or feel embarrassed that, they can't come back and pick it up, and I don't want to have to deal with that. So
how often is it a case of like, well, this really sucks, versus don't worry, it'll sell eventually?
Well, yeah, that's why, if somebody asks for strawberry shortcake or something, you're paying it. Well, there's no way you're leaving without that. But, the person requested a Arkham, Joker, and Batman by Tim.
Mm-hmm.
So that I sold it within 5 minutes of putting it on the website. So I wasn't too worried about it, but the guy gave me a whole song and dance where he couldn't, he was supposed to come to the convention.
Yeah.
Wasn't able to come to the convention. And that's the other thing, is that we try to accommodate all the con-goers first, since they're paying a lot of money to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I don't really do mail order stuff unless there's time to do it. This guy blew me off, didn't show up on Saturday, said, no, I'll be there on Sunday. Of course, he said he couldn't be there Sunday. And then, family emergency, whatever. And I said, okay, fine. I was going to say, screw it. You're dicking with me. But then I was like, you know what? I got to be accommodating and try to, bend over backwards, which I did. And he said, okay, I'll wire you the money. 3 weeks later, nothing came. And I was like, listen, man, you're just screwing me around. Please don't contact me again. You're wasting my time. You're wasting Tim's time.
Yeah.
We could have taken the time that he spent on that piece and done 2 other pieces for fans that would have walked away happy. And that's really the issue I have with that, type of stuff. But, it happens occasionally, and we try to keep mental notes of who does that, so that next time if they ask, we politely decline their request.
By the way, anyone who does buy off the website, the piece that I got, my Green Arrow, was packed so well. And it was one of the best I've ever gotten.
Great.
Because
that's the stressful part, because you could put as many do not bends as you want, but somehow it will come bent.
So
They're going to bend it. Yeah.
so there was the hardboard, and then the art was like in a plastic sheath, right? And then there was tape holding it to the board, right? So that's just on the plastic, it's not on the piece itself.
Right.
And then he double folded the tape, so I had something to grip to peel the tape off of it.
So you didn't have to take a knife to it or anything.
You didn't have to just like leave a slab of tape on it by cutting or damaging the paper. You just pull the tabs.
Yep.
And I was like, that's so thoughtful.
It's the little thing.
It's
Yeah,
the first time I've had that happen.
It takes me an extra, 2 seconds, but that's where where constructive feedback or constructive criticism comes into hand.
I imagine the experience
For
too.
the longest time, right? So a fan actually or a buyer said, I was just doing it the old-fashioned way, just taping it up, and he complained that he had to take a razor and do fucking brain surgery on this package to open his art. And I said, yeah, that makes sense. When I get art, I hate doing that same thing. Mine just take a half a second and flip it over so that you can just remove the tape without having to have a rage fit on opening this package. But and then I don't know. Those are the little things, I guess, just with experience and hearing back from people what they like and don't like, and trying to be a little more accommodating on little things makes a difference.
One of the, I'm assuming one of the services you provide for some of your international artists is basically like a conversion calculator, because
right.
I was interested. I bought a piece from John Timms in Boston. I bought a page of Adeline Rising, where Black Bolt destroys Medusa at the end by accident, and he happened to bring along these two sketchbooks, which were the roughs for issue 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And he's like, you could buy the entire sketchbook, essentially. And I was like, oh my god, I could own like the rough of some of my favorite comic books. But in there, he had like a doodle that he had just done, out of just because artists will just start drawing
As you
stuff.
do.
And I was
Right.
like, how much for just this? Can we cut this out of the rest of the page? Because it didn't have anything to do with the Inhumans book. And John just turns to, I believe it was Chris, just turns to him and goes, how much is this? And I'm like, did he have his own prices, or is was the American dollars not like in his head, or?
No, it's just a lot of the guys just don't know what to charge for their work.
Mm-hmm.
So they ask us what they think, we should charge. That's
Right.
basically it.
Okay.
They just have no concept. For them, I would think John would probably just give it to you if it was up to him. I wasn't there.
He was really nice. He was like one of the nicest dudes.
He's exceptionally nice.
Yeah.
And he's the kind of guy, as most of these guys would be, just to give it to you. However, they realize that we're all there to make money and to, put food on the table. And, that's why he asks us what to sell it for. Did you buy it, by the way?
I didn't. After his page and some of the stuff I had in mind, it was a little out of my range, and I was okay with that. And I said, thank you for showing it to me. Which,
you're supposed to freak out. You're
I know,
supposed to
right?
Say, how dare you? You owe it to me to give me this for being such a big fan, right?
This is a $100 piece and not a $230 piece. You're great. No.
Support affordable artists.
No, but I said, thanks for showing. Like, he didn't have to show me those sketchbooks, which, just the opportunity that they're there was pretty amazing. And
Right.
letting me look at, handing them to me, letting me look through them. I'm like, oh my God, that's Black Bolt. That's Medusa. This is fantastic.
Yeah, it comes down to timing too. I mean, most of the guys love showing their work off.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're not busy and they, John just happened to have some of that stuff there.
Yeah.
Sometimes he'll have pages of an upcoming issue of Harley Quinn or whatever he's working on. And I think Adam had a future issue of Spider-Man he was working on. And, Adam would ask the fan if he wanted to see the next issue before it came out. And as long as there's time and there's not, huge lines or whatnot, they love sharing that stuff with fans, because that's part of the reason why they do it.
Yeah. If you're cool to them, they'll be cool to you. I'm going to go back to...
It's hard to put it any simpler. It's...
I'm going to go all the way back to Boston, I think when were was Chu there? John Layman and
That was 2 years ago.
so Jar's a huge fan of Chu, and we're talking to Rob Guillory and John Layman. Jar was mostly, and like as they're going on, like at one point, Layman just goes, "Oh hey, you want to see the cover to like the next issue?" And just like it's like on his phone, just shows them the cover. It's like no one else has seen it yet.
Yeah, it was pretty great.
Yeah. I've seen Adam and Andy both do that, at shows. And the only caveat is like, don't take pictures of these, or don't go on Bleeding Cool because then we'll get in trouble. But,
Right.
Or actually, But anyway, all those guys, if you're lucky enough to catch them in between, doing things, or if they have time, I've never seen them say no. I don't want to show you what I'm working on. Mm-hmm. It's always, they're proud of what they do. So, again, it helps being patient and nice to people, not just artists, but everybody else.
Yeah.
It tends to come back and get you back.
The characters drawing that I wanted to buy that John Timms had done was a Kamala Khan Mary Marvel mashup. So it was like the two Ms. Marvels.
I don't remember seeing that one. He probably took that. I have the two Harley Quinn thumbnail books that he did, but maybe he might maybe still has that one with him. I don't think I have that one. But he's very, he likes to take his time on art. I've seen him. I've been trying to rush him a little bit because he'll spend more time than he should, or he'll put extra color on a piece because he wants to make it nice for everybody. Mm-hmm. I'm like, listen, colors are extra. That's how we do it. Anything it's black and white. If you add color, it's an upcharge. It's just how we do it.
More effort.
It makes the piece more valuable. Blah blah blah. But he really takes his time. I've never seen him without a smile. And he works like crazy. He's doing Harley book 7 days a week, trying to get the deadlines done. But we'll see. He's got some new stuff coming up this year, so it'll be exciting to see his next projects.
As we get ready to wrap up, Jason, I did want to touch on, we've been talking a lot about, your business and shows that we've seen you at. I do want to give you a chance, to say, where can people, find your, essentially your, I don't want to say your property, your business. Where can people go to view and buy and things like that? And also, are there any upcoming shows that you and the gang may be appearing at soon?
Yeah, so essentialsequential.com is where you can purchase comic art, some sketchbooks, prints. You can also find variant covers and stuff over at Comic Sketch Art. It's our partner company, and we do variants with Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo, and Adam Kubert will have new variants coming out, also with Mark Brooks. So you can find them over there as well. The first show of the year will be in Bologna, Italy. So if you guys want to take a trip to Italy,
yeah, we'll be right there.
With Canete, Matteo, I think Dave's going, Sean Crystal. And then we'll be over at Planet Comic-Con and Emerald City Comic-Con will be the first few months of the year. And then, of course, C2E2, Phoenix Comic-Con will be the first time we'll be in Phoenix in May. And we're still waiting on confirmations for the rest of the year. But we'll be in New York again. We never been to New York, my hometown show. So you can find us in New York. And then we'll probably do a few other shows. You can see what shows we'll be appearing at the website if you go under Essential Sequential and then click on the news button. There's a convention and appearances button. And we also do store signings throughout the year. I think the next one will be over at the Torpedo Comics in Las Vegas. So we'll be there probably once a month with some of the guys.
Are there certain conventions that have to meet a set of requirements for you to merit going to them, or are you just aware when a small time show maybe doesn't quite merit the whole gang going? Yeah,
for the smaller shows where there's no track record for us, there might be an appearance fee that's required. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, if it's an interesting location, Some guys like to go and eat. So if there's a good food, food community or restaurant community there, then some guys will want to go there. Or otherwise, people go to Orlando because go to Disney World for a few days before the show, or
Right.
Some of those things. But we try to mix it up and hit one or two shows each year that we haven't been to. So Phoenix, for example, we'll go to. So I'm looking forward to that one. Hopefully we'll go to Calgary, although we've been there before. That's a nice city.
Is it was it Phoenix or Salt Lake that just lost the right to say their Comic-Con?
I thought that was Salt Lake.
Salt Lake City.
That was Salt Lake.
Yeah.
That's weird. That's dumb.
Apparently, for them, they were just kind of poking the bear. And, not apparently, but maybe you shouldn't go to another convention and take your car out, be obnoxious about advertising at another person's show. Maybe I don't know. I don't know all the details, but
yeah, no, that sounds legit.
Yeah. It sounds like something you probably shouldn't do.
Yeah. So I don't know, but hopefully we'll be in the UK this year. We'll be in Italy, like I said. We were in Paris last year, which was amazing. I think we'll hopefully go to Brazil as well. So a few international shows, of course, Canada. But you can check the website, and we do something like 20, 25 shows at least a year. Mm-hmm. So there's a chance to meet us at any of those shows.
Are the fans generally the same in other countries, or are there vast differences? Or
there's definitely some differences. I mean, we were in oh my goodness, where's that spot? Mexico and Brazil, and fans just wanted to shake the guys' hands and take pictures, with everybody. And everyone. I think Brazil was a little bit more of a low income city. There's not as much money as maybe New York or Toronto, some of these other shows. So fans would just buy, a print or something, but they were super excited, and everybody had a smile on their face and just long lines of people wanting to shake their hands and take a picture. So it was really cool to see how passionate they were, to meet everybody. Some of the more, Paris is more on par with some of the US shows. It hadn't always been that way. In the past, doing commissions wasn't a thing. Normally, if a fan bought your book, artists would do a little remark or a little doodle in those books for fans. Mm-hmm. And that's changed now. Those fans are just as happy to buy commissions and original art as the guys in the U.S. But across the board, fans are generally the same in the fact that they're passionate and very happy to get the time to meet the creators, and that's always been something that's been a lot of fun and a lot of really cool to see, is how gracious everybody is, mm-hmm. and how welcoming. So it makes for a great weekend when people are just happy to see you guys, and it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
When people across the entire world can recognize your work and appreciate you for it, and you get to facilitate that for the guys, like that's really cool.
Yep.
Good for you. Good for them.
Yeah, everyone's happy. Like I said, we try to make everybody happy. Not always the case. We try our best. It's all we can do. Unfortunately, apologies for those guys that aren't able to, get what they want. And for that, you can only say, be persistent and patient, and we'll do our best to get you something in the future.
Well, if they could find those other artists that are still, trying to make it, and
get their stuff, there's the whole convention full.
Get the $50 sketch, the $50 one that you can afford, and then in 5 or 6 years they'll be with Essential Sequential, and you could say, I had this piece from back when, and now they're charging their.
Exactly.
That's exactly how it works.
I remember. Listen, James Jean was charging $400 for his covers at one point. I mean, what are you going to do? It's the way our economy works. Buy low, sell high. As people become more accomplished in their field, they're gonna garner higher prices for their work. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
But like you said, there's thousands and thousands of artists out there that will do work for a lot less money, that aren't as well known, and you just have to take the time to go find them and support them. There's nothing wrong with that. It's hopefully the way we get to the next level.
Yeah.
Jason, I got to say thank you. This was a lot of fun. I know we took a lot of time out of your Thursday night here. This was enlightening. Also, like, it just has me. I fell out of the sketch thing for a while. In the last 2 weeks, we've been talking exclusively about comics and comic artists, and it's got me with the little bit of an itch again. But I got to say thanks so much for coming on. This was a ton of fun. I really appreciate it. We really appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah, my pleasure. It was a lot of fun. I got to talk to two other humans, and
not the dog.
Without the dog. Yeah. So that was nice to actually engage with two other collectors and fans. So I appreciate you taking the time with me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and if you ever want to do it again, you just let me know. I'm sure we can stir up some controversy with some Facebook groups.
There's plenty to be had. But you can go check out essentialsequential.com. Go buy some art. Go say hello and support artists at a show. Don't be like me. Don't be shy. Just go up and say hi. You won't regret it.
Definitely don't be shy.
Exactly. Otherwise, you'll never get guests on your podcast. Luckily, I have Alex to live vicariously through. But anyways, that is going to do it for this week. I believe that I don't got anything else. I'm exhausted from satisfaction. Now it sounds like sex. Anyways, I'm talking too much. That's going to do it for this week. Until next time, I have been JR.
I'm Alex.
I guess I'm Jason. Thanks, guys.
And this has been episode 304. I almost lost it again. Of Opinions May Vary.